Okay, so if my last video wasn't absolutely crazy enough for you, this is just absolutely insane. City puts $10,000 bounty of trans people's heads if they use a public restroom. Are you kidding me? Not if they use the wrong restroom, but any? Maybe it's going to be specific, but I'm not going to hold my breath. The city of Odessa, Texas, of course it would have to be Texas, has placed a $10,000 bounty on any transgender individual who uses bathrooms that align with their gender identity, according to independent journalist Aaron Reed. Okay, that makes slightly more sense than the headline. It's still insane, though. The bounty itself reads that any person besides local and state government officials may sue a trans person using the restroom that aligns with their gender, with payments including injunctive relief sufficient to prevent the defendant from violating the provisions of this ordinance, nominal and compensatory damages if the plaintiff has suffered injury or harm from the defendant's conduct, statutory damages in an amount of not less than $10,000 for each violation of this ordinance, and court costs and reasonable attorney's fees. Okay, now, considering how many cis people are assumed to be trans because people have this idea of what a cis person should look like and what a trans person should look like. And if someone happens to be cis but doesn't look like your idea of a woman or a man, then obviously they must be trans. I mean, seriously? You're going to make people go to court to prove that they're not trans? Or that and suffered injury or harm from the defendant's conduct? They're using the bathroom. What harm are they doing? You aren't seeing shit unless you're looking, in which case, how is that their problem? All right. And actually, I just saw an article about Ted Cruz falsely calls two cis-teen girls boys in desperate search for trans athletes to demonize. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is going to become open season on anyone who doesn't look manly enough or womanly enough, depending on the issue, because most people would not know that a trans person is in the bathroom with them. Why? Because they generally pass. I mean, I just don't know what else to tell you. This idea that you can figure out who's trans is ridiculous. They look like they can pass because that's the intended goal, is to pass. Because they are men or they are women. They aren't whatever their biology tells them they are. They are the gender that they feel. While the bounty is set to a minimum of $10,000, there's no cap on how large the bounty can be. So, now Texas has bounty, anybody can be a bounty hunter in Texas when it comes to abortion and when they think they've spotted a trans person. Yeah, nothing bad could possibly go wrong with this. In addition, there are criminal penalties for individuals who use bathrooms that align with their gender identity. The provision states that a person violating the provision of this ordinance shall be deemed guilty of a Class C misdemeanor and shall be punished by a fine not to exceed $500, and that anyone who refuses to use a bathroom aligned with what the city perceives as their biological sex, even after being asked to leave by a building owner, may be guilty of misdemeanor trespassing. So again, because people might perceive a person as trans. Not that they're trans, but that someone might think they're trans. I mean, how many times have we seen stories of cis men or cis women being assumed to be trans simply because, I don't know, the man has long hair, the woman has short hair, or in the case of that one anti-trans woman who happened to have alopecia and had no hair. I mean, how do you decide that someone is a man or someone is a woman? There are some outwardly signs. Like, I can't imagine, even if you are trans, if you happen to be with a beard, those people are probably not going to be insisting on using the women's room for the very fact that they know that that's not a traditional woman look. But if you are genuinely a woman, how are you going to tell? I mean, they're not going to be there with a beard. They're probably not going to have a low voice, a manly voice, in theory, because there are women who have low voices. There are women who, there are women who have a bit of a mustache and they have to remove it. Not because they are trans, but just simply because that's how the hair grows on them. So seriously, how do you decide, looking at a trans woman or trans man, that they're trans? How do you notice that? All right. The bounty defines biological sex based on birth certificates. And what, you're going to ask every person for their birth certificate? What? Either at the time of birth or corrected if there was a clerical error. This means that any transgender individual who gets their birth certificate updated to reflect their gender identity would still be violating the law if they used a bathroom that aligned with their gender. Wait, what? All right, how would they know? This is so weird. I mean, how would they know that it was changed later rather than as a result of clerical error? Some people seriously need to get a life. This ban lacks any exceptions for disabled people who may be accompanied by a person of a different gender and may open the door to lawsuits targeting anyone who is gender nonconforming. And what about parents? I mean, how many times will you see a parent, it doesn't necessarily have to be the mother, take their opposite sex child with them into the bathroom because it's a hell of a lot easier than, especially depending on the age, it's a hell of a lot easier than sending them to the proper bathroom and them waiting outside. Because at a certain age, you need to be sure that things are going smoothly. Are you seriously going to tell me that that some idiot is going to peg them as you're in the wrong bathroom? I mean, like I said, there's so much wrong with this. And again, what if you're a cis person who just happens to, by someone's definition, look look like the opposite sex than they're claiming, the opposite gender that they're claiming. How do you decide that? I mean, are trans people, is everybody supposed to just walk around with their birth certificate to whip out to show, no, 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 I'm the sex I claim to be because look. What? Bathroom bans with criminal penalties have been passed in states like Utah and Florida, while other states like North Dakota have bans without clear penalties or means of enforcement. Reed drew parallels between the Odessa bounty and anti-abortion bounties seen throughout Texas, where people can sue anyone who aids someone who is seeking an abortion, as they rely on much of the same strategy. That is, instead of having government officials who can be sued preemptively enforce a ban, they authorize private citizens to do the work of enforcing the law as a legal workaround. That is just so freaking messed up. Jonathan Gooch, oh, I love that name, communications director for Equality Texas, told the Texas Tribune, "It's a very aggressive way to alienate trans people from public life, and I think it is counter to the spirit of friendship that most Texans embody. It enables vigilantes just to target anyone that they don't think matches the type of gender expression they expect to see in the bathroom, and that is truly insane." Exactly what I'm saying. I think I look like a typical woman. But, I wear pants. What if someone decides that real women only wear skirts? Would that be enough to collect on a bounty? It's just insane that any little thing, or if I were to have even shorter hair than I do, would that be enough? It's just crazy that anything that goes against what you consider to be a man or a woman would be enough. I mean, I have an alto voice. At least I used to. When I listen to myself, I question that. But what if someone might think my voice is too low for a woman? Or what if you listen to a man, say, Vince Gill, which I've mentioned before on this channel. He's a tenor. He has a very high voice. What if someone decided he must be trans because of how high his voice is? That's just silly. Let people go to the damn bathroom. Why are we policing this? I mean, maybe if American bathrooms didn't have these huge gaps where you could, see through, this wouldn't be a problem. Because nobody can peek, nothing, no problem. Which, by the way, women can peek on other women. And as I've mentioned before, gay people exist. So if your concern is being attacked, then why aren't you against gay men in men's bathrooms and lesbians in women's bathrooms? Because that should be the same thing. But they don't do that because that's not what they're there for. They're there to do their business, not to jump anyone's bones. Same thing with trans people. They're not there to attack you. They're there to use the bathroom. Again, most trans people are straight. Not at all interested in what you have in there. Not in the least. I just don't understand why people are so freaked out about trans people using the bathroom. It's just stupid. So anyway, that is the end of that article. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.